And for further analysis, we are joined from London by CEO of QW Capital, Gianluca Lobefalo. Welcome, sir, and thank you for joining me here today. Sir, how significant is this decision in terms of reducing Russia's energy revenues? Could it substantially weaken the Russian economy, do you think?
Now, on the specifically from a marginal perspective, more or less, don't forget that we used to import as a European Union up to 45% of gas. They went down to already now 12%. So we are cutting the remaining 12%. Is more a political sign and more a message, I think, to the Russian administration rather than a real economic impact. Yes, it will, but we already are less than a third of what we used to import before. Now, what are implications? Implications are we are revisiting all our energy, if you like, policy and strategy towards the Mediterranean because European is not independent. European countries are not independent from energy perspective, meaning that if we don't import from Russia, we need to replace Russia. How we replace we? The LNG, so the liquefied, we are importing from the US, but they are much more expensive. What is really becoming more center is all the Mediterranean policy, particularly run by the Italian government, with what we call a Mattei plan, is increasing cooperation both in terms of control of immigration, education, and energy import from all the Maghreb countries, starting with Algeria. So we are starting to see that the relevance is moving from the northeast, let's put this way, all the country of the previous Soviet bloc, towards the European in the south, so the Mediterranean country. So Mediterranean country become an epicenter, a very relevant role for the energy policy and strategy of the European Union.
Sir, what is the ultimate endgame for the sanctions regime? Are they purely just a wartime tool, or are they now aimed at permanently crippling Russia's long-term military and economic capacity, even after a potential peace agreement?
It's a combination of both, but as we said before, I doubt this one will really impact, let's say, the what is called the war chest of China, so of Russia. Sorry, I don't really believe that this one will have a major impact on the military strategy of Russia in itself. From economic perspective, it's clearly a message to Putin to clearly be more open to peace negotiation. And we already know there will be a summit with under US request. So we are going, hopefully, we are going closer and closer to a peace talk. But what happened now since the Ukraine war with Ukraine is something that it won't take back all to the previous situation. So I don't think we're going to have again a case of Germany that was totally dependent from Russian import or energy import. So clearly, for example, the German economy benefited a lot of very cheap import from Russian gas and oil. I doubt we go back to there. I mean, there was a weak spot under Merkel administration to depend massively only on Russia. I don't think this is going to happen. So we're going to have a more balanced policy for Europe, both from the northeast and from the south.
Yeah. And sir, can you share with us a little bit, what is the impact of this phase out? What will it have on the global energy prices, especially the natural gas and the LNG?
I mean, we already saw an impact mostly when we started as a European Union to reduce the import again, as we said before, from 45 to less than a third to the current 12%. And obviously, who is benefiting mostly has been the US, who managed to export the LNG, so particularly the liquefied gas, into Europe at a much higher price. So that had an impact clearly on European inflation and an impact on the margin for the US exporting country. I believe that what will be the real impact will be much more dominant, much more relevant from Algeria and all the Northern African countries. Now, the fact that this one will have a major impact on the price as they are now, I doubt.
And can we elaborate a little bit more? I know that you mentioned it earlier in the interview, but what role will the alternative energy suppliers, like you were saying, Algeria, for example, play economically, and can they replace the Russian volumes at a competitive cost, do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. It's not a forecast that I'm giving to you. It's an observation. It's something that is already happening. All the excess of production of energy already nowadays from Algeria going to Sicily, from Sicily up to France and Central Europe. So we are already seeing a replacement that actually is beneficial, independently from the war. that hopefully we all hoped it didn't happen. But independent from the war, it didn't make sense for Europe, particularly Germany, to depend only on one country. So now we have a more balanced dependence, if you like it, plus
Okay.
all the renewable energy that will play a bigger role in Central Europe. But clearly, we are having now a more balanced import and relevance on the northern countries because of proximity to Europe, to Russia, and the southern country Europe, they will play a key and relevant role for all the import to Europe. So we'll have much more the so-called Mediterranean Club Med countries, so Italy, Greece, and Spain, who will play a bigger role in the balance of power in Europe. So there has been a rebalancing from the northern country to the southern country.
And
That is
can
evident.
you can you also explain to us a little bit how this phase out will affect the EU economy in general, particularly the energy intensive industries and household energy bills?
Yeah, we already saw that actually the German economy, who used to be our main driver, is the weak link at the moment of Europe. There's been a clear, I mean, don't forget that the Merkel administration has been an incredibly good administration, but is now showing all his negative side. The weak side was, again, the dependence from Russia and the too much reliance on the automotive industry. So it's very difficult to isolate the impact of the change of the country from which we import, in this case, energy, so gas and oil, to the whole weakening of the European economy that actually is not a malaise that could be only confined to Europe. We are having a global slowdown, it's an evident slowdown of global GDP and production. And frankly, I doubt that that one can be only pointed out to the new changing, let's say, of country from which we import energy. I think it's a much broader weakening of the economy. We are in a slowing part of the economic cycle globally and
Yes.
in Europe.
And if the war in Ukraine were to end before 2028, would the political will exist still to suspend the phase out and resume the Russian energy imports, do you think? Or has the decoupling become a permanent strategic policy regardless of the war's outcome?
I mean, it's difficult to say. I believe
I
the
mean,
phase out
what do you
will be
think?
suspended.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it will be suspended in a sense that I wouldn't be surprised if the existing contract will not be asked to expire. As you know, there is a deadline for the 17th of June 2026. All the short-term contract in existence should expire, and the one with the long-term should expire by the 1st of January 28. So basically, by the end of 27, all the existing contracts will be suspended and no new one can be established. I believe the phase out, as you pointed out, will be eventually cancelled. Now, I'm not sure we're going to go back to have import of Russian oil and gas to the 45%. That will not happen again. It will be with the diversification we're seeing with other countries, it will be here to stay. It is actually beneficial. It strengthens the robustness of the European economy, not depending only on one side.
And from London, that was the CEO of QW Capital, Mr. Gianluca Lobefalo. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me here today and for your insights.